We've been working on the roles in the marriage, in the home, and the last couple of weeks, it's been all about the ladies. Guys, I told you, well, we'll get to you. So now it's our turn. That doesn't mean the ladies can't speak up. Would be glad for you to, including my wife back there. She needs to tell me something.
Sorry, I missed last week, guys. Apparently that was the week I was supposed to speak up.
Yeah, that was, I had that one set up for her, but things happen. And the reason, I think I told y'all, she had done a lot of work on Titus 2 and had even taught and had others teach a class for the older ladies about being a Titus 2 woman. And I knew she had some insights to that, and I was hoping she would be able to share that. But any of you want to talk to her about that, I'm sure she would share the material she has and what was said about that. But it was the things that we went through. All right. Tonight, guys, the first thing that we talked about in Ephesians 5:25 through 28, and let's do that again. Let's read it again so we get the whole thing. Ephesians 5:25 through 28. Kylie, will you do that? You got it?
Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word, that he might present her to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself.
All right. So it starts off with love. And I'm sure many of you know this, but I'm going to remind you, in the Greek, there was multiple words for love. English has one. Let's see. Isis, what's your favorite food?
Probably.
I'll just throw something out there. I don't care.
Yeah, chicken tenders.
Chicken tenders. Have you ever, maybe not as an adult, but have you ever said, I love chicken tenders?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Several moms.
Mm-hmm. I love chicken tenders. What other things do we say we love? Diana and I have said this. We love to travel. What else? Have you said an inanimate object that you said, I love? When you got that new car, did you say, I love my new car?
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. Because we have one word. And we use it for everything. Greeks didn't. The love that is mentioned here as Christ loved. That would have been the word agape. Unrequited love. It means it's given whether it's deserved or not. It's given whether it's given back or not. It's given to the point that you will do whatever you can to make sure this person is taken care of above your own self. And that's the way husbands are to love their wives. Now, there are other loves, and it is used other times. We should have love one another, but the love that we have for one another is not the same love that you have between husband and wife. It can't be. That has to be a deeper level. Phileo, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Phileo is brotherly love. And we're supposed to have that for one another. Okay? So Christ loved the church to the point, and we've already talked about this, that he gave his life, but there's more to it than that. How did he give that life? You can go anywhere you want to with that. Willingly. Painfully. In fact, at the time, it was the most horrific death. By the way, if you don't know, the idea of crucifixion is the word where we get the word excruciating. It's the same Greek word that makes that up. It means unimaginable pain. He was willing to go through all kinds of pain. Willing to do that for the church. And for those who were persecuting him, and to those who were killing him, some of the final words that he said were, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. He loved the church so much that he didn't want that awful thing that those people were doing. He didn't want it to be held against him individually. Guys, that's how we're supposed to love our wives. So I'm going to step on your toes and mine too. So, something she says or something she does and it hurts your feelings, remember what kind of love you're supposed to have for her. Because I'm pretty certain she's not going to hang you on a cross. Now, she might hang you out to dry sometimes. Quit shaking your head back there. You got to love her like that. And yes, we're going to talk about communication later on. Yeah, you need to talk to her about, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings, yada, yada, yada. You need to do that. But like Christ, you got to be forgiving. Because if that's the way you are, it's no problem with her to be submissive. No problem for her being able to take care of the house and do the things because she knows you're going to back her up. And we'll get to that one. But you better back her up, especially if it comes to discipline. You better back her up. Second thing he said, as you love yourself. We have some folks today, in today's society, that literally don't like themselves. And I understand that is a situation totally different than what he is talking about here. But what is, as Paul is saying, you love your wife as you love your own self. Think about some of the things that you want to do for yourself. What is something you like to do for yourself?
Eat food.
We like to eat. I'm not. I might go without a meal, but I'm not going without too many of them. Absolutely. I make sure this body gets fed. Do you make sure she gets fed? And that's more than just food, and we'll get to that later. What else?
Drive.
You like to drive? What if she likes to drive?
She can drive.
There you go. If she's tired and doesn't want to drive, and you're tired and you don't want to drive, guess whose job it is to drive? It's the guy's. That's right. Unless you are unsafe, that becomes something different. Suck it up. She likes to drive, let her drive. The caveat there is, she might not know how to drive, stick shifts or things like that. Make sure you teach her how to drive whatever she's going to drive if she doesn't know how first. Motorcycles, four-wheelers, those kinds of tractors. But she likes to drive, let her drive. What else?
I like to watch a show after I've been at work all day.
You like to relax, don't you? She comes in, she's worked all day. You've worked all day. Both of you are tired. And sometimes you just need to sit down a minute. And probably both of you are hungry. You need to learn what the other one needs. Sometimes you just need to sit down and you may eat a sandwich that night. Or maybe you're not tired. Guys, Hasn't been tradition, but you know what? You can cook too. And I suggest every one of you learn how. Absolutely. Now, you don't have to be the best at everything, but you should be able to cook on nights when she just don't feel like it.
What about when your mom went to the hospital?
Say again?
When your mom had to go to the hospital or whatever it was.
Oh. So Mom had to go to the hospital. I'm a little guy. And I remember asking my dad, Dad, when's Mom coming home? You can't cook. I remember asking that. He was doing the best he could. And actually, he learned a little bit about cooking after that. Now, let me make sure this don't come across as sexist, which it has so far. It's okay if you decide to break up the house duties. If you're the cook, then you're the cook. Maybe she does something else. It's okay. That's something y'all have to decide in that household. Those are decisions that need to be made between you. Are you going to share it? Is it mostly one and the other one does it every now and then? That's up to you. So we're going to feed ourselves. If we're tired, we're going to try to get some rest. Do we find things to make ourselves feel better about ourselves? You ever see?
Get my nails done.
I was hoping somebody would finally get there. Now, those guys probably aren't going to go there. But if you know she needs some downtime, she needs a relief, let her get her nails done. Call to set her up an appointment. Hey, I've got you an appointment to go get your nails done. And I fail miserably at stuff like that.
But he draws my Epsom salt bath.
I do. If she's sick, I will make her a bath, get it ready for her. Okay. Love your wife as you love your own body. If your own body's hurting, you try to find some relief for it. If you find out that your spouse, your wife is hurting, you need to try to find some relief for her. If it's going to the pharmacy and getting something that she needs, do it. If it's sitting down beside her and holding her hand, do it. Scratching her back while she goes to sleep, do it. Whatever it takes. If you love her as much as you love your own body, you're going to try to find ways to take care of her, like you take care of your own body. Hey, bud, what's going on? All right, number 2. Y'all can talk some more. Y'all doing good, but we need more. 1 Peter 3:7. Somebody read it. Let's see. I had Kylie read that. Sid, 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Excuse me.
Husbands likewise dwell with them with understanding, give honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered.
Some translations will say, live in knowledge with them. You're saying understanding. What do you expect, ladies? When we're being told through Scripture that us guys need to live with you with knowledge and understanding, what do you want us to know? And what I'm getting right now, that's basically what we do know. Nothing. You got to help us. One thing that we just said, I know when Diana's sick, I know one thing that she wants to feel better is that Epsom salt bath. And a lot of times I'll go to her and say, you need a bath? You need me to run you one? Knowledge of your spouse. What makes them feel better? What makes them feel appreciated? What makes them remember, yep, that's why I married him. Again, That's different in different relationships. A lot of times you guys will buy jewelry and present that in as a gift or whatever. Well, that's out the window for me. My wife doesn't care anything about jewelry. So I can buy her jewelry. She'll appreciate it. But if I do that, I'm not doing something that I know she that she likes.
Cut flowers. I don't like cut flowers.
No. She does
Done
not.
the plant in the ground. I don't want cut flowers because it's a waste of money to me.
Y'all got to talk. So you know. All right, the understanding part. Working in the school, somebody would get upset and they'd wind up in my office and they're bawling their eyes out. Nobody's been hit, kicked, or punched. We're just bawling our eyes out. What's wrong? No. Hated that answer. Until I started doing some research. And they were telling me the truth. They had become emotional about something. They got past whatever it was, and they could not stop crying because they were on a roll, I guess. I don't know. And they really didn't know why they were crying. Now, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot now. But I want you to think about it. Have you ever become emotional about something and not real sure why you became emotional about it? Can I rat you out back there?
I'm sure. I don't know what time it was, but I'm sure it was one.
Movies. Emotional movies. I love her, but she becomes a blubbering idiot. And I'm scratching my head like, you know they're just acting, right? You know that didn't really happen to them, right?
Me and Clay watched The Walking Dead over again, and I cried whenever Carl and Rick got reunited.
You get what I'm getting at here. We may not understand, but we support them. Psychologically, you know what's going on there? It may not have anything to do with what's going on there. It may have brought a memory up that they don't even know that it brought up. And it reminds them of something similar that happened in their life, and it elicits an emotional response. And honestly, you may not know it. It may be in your subconscious. So, guys and ladies, I'm not saying guys don't do this. I can't empathize with that because that doesn't work with me. Guys, if she's crying and you ask her what's wrong and she says she don't know, it's not her trying to avoid you. It's not her trying to not tell you what's going on or shut you out. At that moment, she may not know. Just be there to support her, and when she's ready to talk, she'll talk. Ladies, on the flip side of that, you better get ready to talk at some point and let him know what was going on. Especially if it's something that we did that caused it. We're not mind readers, and y'all aren't either. You have to communicate. Are y'all getting a theme here? You got to talk. And sometimes it's uncomfortable conversations. Second part there says to give honor. The word could also have been translated, it means to assign a value to. Guys, it's time for y'all to talk. How do you value the young lady that you're dating or engaged to? Where's Clay? Is he okay?
You just pulled in.
Oh, okay.
Do things to show her that you're thinking about it.
Okay. Ladies, you can say, hey, I would just appreciate, us guys we need you to tell us some things every now and then. All right, help me out back there. They're not talking. How do I or could I show honor or value to you? Wow, I don't honor or value my wife. I'm not qualified to teach the class. I'm sorry, guys, I'm leaving. All right, you remember what I told you about how I felt about a woman putting gas in her car? You remember that statement? I go fill her car up with gas.
Well, I'd say how you treat her around other people.
You better believe it.
Pretty big one. But also, obviously, treating her away from people too is important. But how you treat her in public, not even if you are mad at her, wait until you guys are away from everybody.
Wisdom
Yeah.
in front of everybody else. Bluntly, she is the perfect woman, and you better not say anything about her. When you get home in private, hey, can we talk about something?
And y'all talk down to her.
And no. And folks, when somebody says, I felt like, don't discount that. Everybody is entitled to their feelings. You can't tell somebody how to feel it. When they're opening up and said, hey, this made me feel this way. Never say, well, you shouldn't have. Never say that. I didn't mean for you to feel that way. I'm sorry you feel that way. I didn't know I made you feel that way. Those statements are fine, but don't you ever tell them, well, you shouldn't feel that way. You don't have a right to tell somebody how they feel. They're not you. I guarantee you, I don't feel the same way about things that my wife does. I don't react the same to certain things that my wife does. And that's why I have her to talk to me to make sure that my reaction is more along the lines of what it should be. How do you value her? Ladies, what would make you feel valued? I'm so glad you did that one, because that's the big one. All right, I'm going to take it to the next step. If he's out with the guys, no other ladies around, how do you talk about her to the guys?
Same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't complain to your friends or your parents about things that they've done or things that upset you, because the one thing is that, especially as a parent, we're going to hold it against them. You may forget it in a week's time, but we're going to hold it against them.
Yep. I'm going to remember how you treated my child.
And you could just be venting and letting off steam, but we remember.
And I'm going to remember how you treat my wife. You'd be better off to treat me horrible than to treat my wife or my kids bad. Because I'm going to brush it off. I can't brush it off as easy if you've done something to hurt my wife or my kids. And here's the deal. When it comes down to between the kids and your wife, guess who you better back? I know y'all don't have to guess. See, your first promise is to that woman that you said you're going to be true and faithful to till death do us. She's number one. And the kids will try to play you one against the other. You back her. Now, obviously, that goes out the window if there is abuse or something going on that cannot be supported. You want a strong marriage? Each one of them knows that the other one's got my back. Even if I'm wrong, to a certain extent, they've got my back. Now, we may have to talk about it when we get back home, but they've got my back, and I know they're going to have my back. And I have failed at that. I have failed at that, guys. Remember I told you when I was teaching this class, it's going to be from my failures and not me knowing the answer? I failed at that. I should have set my foot down with my father. And I didn't. And I failed at that. I can't go back and change that. You can avoid making that mistake. How would Scripture define value? The word there means to assign the proper worth. You treat her. You assign her the proper worth. There's a saying, and it's not scriptural, everybody hear that? Not in Scripture. But there's a saying that's out there, and repeated in psychology a lot. Whatever you bring home to a woman, she'll multiply it for you. You bring home love and happiness, she will multiply that in your home. You bring her home misery and heartbreak, she will multiply that in your home. You decide how you want to live. And even though that's scripture, I'm going to tell you what, that's not far from truth. If a woman knows her worth and you treat her like she is the second most important person in your life, second only to God, I'm telling you, you don't have to worry about many of the things that this world's going to throw at you, because she knows that you've got her best interest at heart, and she's going to back you up. And you can go through a whole lot of things when you know you've got her on your side. We'll talk about this later too, but I can tell you this. Every one of you could come to me, and I'm not asking you to, but every one of you could come to me after this class and say, man, that was a great class. If she come to me and said, it was okay, but you should have done, guess whose opinion means the most to me? It's hers. What could I have done better? Tell me what I could have done differently. Not that I won't listen to what you have to say. I will. But when she tells me something, that's what... Because she's going to tell me the truth. She knows me. She knows if I could have done better or if I was doing the best I could. And she'll let me know. There have been sermons, she said, you right on. There's been sermons, she said, I couldn't follow you here. I'm like, I need to go back and fix that. Because if she, who knows me probably better than I know myself, can't follow me, then other folks won't follow me either. Assign the value that is due her. We won't get through this last one. 1 Timothy 5:8. Somebody go there. Maddie, you got it? 1 Timothy 5:8. You in New King James or ESV? What you got, hon?
New King James.
New King James. All right.
But if you said 5:8.
Yes, 1 Timothy. Make sure you're in 1 Timothy.
But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
MJ's sick. Oh,
She's coming back. She's throwing up and stuff. So
I said he's
they
coming
want to
through.
get you. Continue on.
Thanks, sir. You're worse than a what? An unbeliever. Let me make that the stronger language. You're worse than someone says there is no Jehovah God. He doesn't exist. He's a figment of your imagination. He's a fairy tale. Now, if somebody come up to you right now, and I hope you would handle it right, but if they were to tell you that this God you serve and this Jesus you serve is nothing more than a glorified fairy tale, how does it make you feel? Tell the truth. Go on, say it. I'm guaranteeing you the hair on the back of my neck's going to stand up. These ears are going to turn red. And I'm going to have to swallow down some bile that wants to come out. They said the same thing to him. He was reviled, and yet he reviled not. I got to learn to respond like Christ. If you won't provide for your own, that's your family, you are worse than that person that says God and Christ are nothing but a fairy tale. First one up there, necessities. What are the necessities in your marriage? Look at what else is down there. I'm talking about, this is probably more physical things now. Some physical things that you have to have in your home that need to be provided.
Food, shelter, water, electricity.
Keep going. Yeah. Like it or not, these days, we almost have to have these things, don't we? With the amount of time that we spend on the phone. We almost have to have them, don't we? That costs something. Every month that costs something.
Insurance.
What kinds of insurance, do you know? You don't think about this.
House insurance.
House. Say again. What? Medical. Dental. Vision. Life insurance. If something happens to you guys, is she taken care of? What else?
Car insurance.
Car insurance. If you're renting, what else needs to be there? Renter's insurance. It's all expensive. And it doesn't cover as much as it ought to cover. Or at least in my opinion. Because then you still have deductibles you got to meet and so forth. Those are necessities in this day and time. So that means I got to look at my budget. We might not get to go out and eat every day this month because we got to make sure we can pay the rent and or mortgage, whatever the case may be, the electric, the water, the phone, all the insurances. You got to keep up with that. And guys, the bottom line is, it's your responsibility to make sure that those are met. Now, I told you Diane is better at the finances, and I let her handle those things. But we have those discussions. It's your responsibility to make sure those things. Do we have the money that's necessary? And guys, sometimes you may have to pick up a little extra overtime. You may have to get another job on the side. But you've got to meet the needs of that family. Not at the expense of spending time with that family. It's a balancing act. I've been guilty of that.
From a job that didn't have overtime.
From a job that didn't pay overtime. I was going back to get my master's degree. It was master's. I had got my bachelor's. I got a job. Things were going well. I'm going to go and get my master's. Knock that out of the way. We'll get a bump in pay, and that'll help. Because that bump in pay, over the years, bumps up my retirement at the very end. And what I go through, how did that work out? At one point, I was going from a rank. I finished my
You
master's,
finished your math.
and I was going for my rank 1. And I started talking to her about it. And do you remember what you told me?
Oh yeah. You're not getting it until at least 1 year after Lantana was born, because the first year he went back for his master's when Dre was born, and I spent that first whole year as a single parent. And that's it. Not happy.
Well, your exact words, I need a husband. And that hit hard. I need a husband. You know what I heard? You failed as a husband. Now, that's not what she said, but that's what I heard.
I felt like I was a single parent. That was the problem, because I was there by myself, and then to have 2 kids, I was like, no.
And honestly, I was working 2 jobs at the time and doing that. So she didn't see me a lot. See, in my mind, I got to hammer it out now. This will be better for us in the long run. I've got to get it done. It was something that needed to be done, but it had come at the cost of my relationship with my wife. Don't do that. Talk through it. Decide, okay, maybe if we didn't have kids, she'd have supported it and said, yeah, go and get that done. But not the way things were.
Well, no, see, the first time around, I supported it.
You did.
Thinking about it not being a big deal, but then after,
The amount of time it took, plus the fact that I spent a lot of extra time grading papers. Guys, I was a science, chemistry, biology, so mine weren't ABC answers. Mine were lab reports and write-ups and things like that, where I had to read through to see what kind of analysis they made. So it took a minute to grade the papers that I graded. So I spent a lot of time. About the only time I had off was Sunday morning when we went to church, come back and eat lunch, and then from then on, I was getting ready for the next week. And that's after staying late on Friday most of the time.
Were you like a graduate assistant?
No, I was teaching school at that time, chemistry and biology, and yeah, had 180 kids. Now you think about giving 180 kids a test, and then you need to have it graded and back to them. You think about the amount of time that takes to grade, so.
and working on the degree.
And working on the degree, and raising crops on the farm. I was busy. That I would change if I could go back. I should have spent more time with her as a young bride. Don't make my mistakes. Talk through it. If she's, and mean what you say, men and women. If you, yes, I support you, I want you to do this, then support. Or be honest and say, I'd rather you didn't do that. I'd rather us spend more time together. I'd rather us go this direction. Be honest with each other. Because all it's going to do is cause resentment if you don't. All right, next week, we're going to finish talking about provide emotional, physical, social, and spiritual. Think about the types of things that we as guys need for emotional support. Ladies, what kinds of things? We'll get to the physical later on in, but it means exactly what it looks like it means. The social aspect. This is her friends, your friends, our friends. Let's talk about that, and we will do that more later. And the most important one is, what are your responsibilities in providing her with her spiritual needs? I want y'all to think about that and be ready to give some answers to how that might need to go. Anybody else got anything you want to add? I know I say this all the time, but y'all don't know how much I enjoy this class and being with y'all. And I hope that it's helpful. And if any time it's not helpful or it's not going the way it needs to go, let me know. I promise you. I will do my best to change what needs to be changed. And if that even means getting a different teacher, I want what's best for you. And if I'm not it, we need to find somebody who is. Any suggestions are always welcome. Any questions are always welcome. Y'all know where the basket is. Here are cards. You can drop it in anytime. Should be about time for us to get out there. Thank y'all.